and make those embers glow. I'm on my way, and I don't skip a beat. I can't help it, I've got happy feet. So good, I do what I want and it's understood. There's no stopping me when I'm doing my thing. I'm doing my thing. I'ma do me. You know what I mean. I'm on fire. I'm feeling glad there's a spark in my soul. Feel my heart go zing. I'm clapping my hands and I'm pulling these strings. No stopping me when I'm doing my thing. I'm doing my thing. I'ma do me. I'ma do me. You know what I mean. You know what I mean. I'm on fire. Yes, I am. I'ma do me. I'ma do me. You know what I mean. You know what I mean. I'm on
I'm steady walking like I got 3 commas in my bank account, living loud. So get your cameras out. I'll probably do the same thing if I was you. Looking at me now, now. Put up your lights and keep them flashing. Don't ever put them down, down, down. Look at me now. Look at me now. Look at me now. Good God, I'm looking sweet. Right now I'm feeling like a slice of heaven, and you wanna sink your teeth in me. And the way that I move my feet, it's like I got this whole world spinning round to the rhythm of my heartbeat. Put up your lights and keep them flashing. Don't ever put them down, down, down. Look at me now. Look at me now. Look at me now. Look at me now. I feel so good. I feel so money. I feel so good. I feel so money. Look at me now. Look at me now. Look at me now. Look at me now. I feel so good. I feel so money. Look at me now. So good. I feel so money. Look
I can't seem to focus, and you don't seem to notice I'm not here. I'm just a mirror. You check your complexion to find your reflections all alone. I had to go. Can't you hear me? I'm not coming home. Do you understand? I've changed my plans, 'cause I'm in love with my future. Can't wait to meet her. And I'm in love, but not with anybody else. Just wanna get to know myself. I know supposedly I'm lonely now. No, I'm supposed to be unhappy without someone, but aren't I someone? You're so handsome, but I know better than to drive you home. 'Cause you'd invite me in, and I'd be yours again, but I'm in love with my future, and you don't know her. And I'm in love, but not with anybody here. I'll see you in a couple years.
It's been a little while since I've looked in your eyes and walked that bridge to the other side. Mama says it's gonna get cold in the night, but if I picture you, then I'll be alright. I am ready. I am ready for you to be here. It's been a little while since I held your hand, so my arms won't stretch to your distant lands. Give me every person in the whole wide world, and I'll pick you out in a second, girl. I am ready. I am ready for you to be here. For you.
Extract and wait, graft and wait, implant and wait, and restore. There's nothing wrong with conventional approach. In fact, sometimes that is the right thing to do. However, there are situations where you wish that you can provide a simple one surgery procedure such as immediate molar therapy. After all, no patients like to receive multiple surgeries if they don't have to, right? In this live online session, we are super excited to bring you our best kept secret, the dynamic duo from the Calgary Bice Institute, Dr. Albert Louis and Dr. Jasmine Louis. As many of you are already follower of Dr. Albert Louis, he is a prolific surgeon who has decades of experience in implant dentistry and full arch occlusion. We already have over 70 registered members for this exclusive evening session. So, what are you waiting for? Time to jump on the bandwagon. Learn, grow, network, be safe, and see you soon. Bye-bye. All right, everybody. I think we're live. Okay. Thanks for joining the Sunday late night coffee show. Happy Easter's to everybody. Hope you guys having a great weekend. Of course, tonight we've changed the time. Instead of a 10 p.m., we're doing a little bit earlier, which is a 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's two reasons, so that more of you guys can join my coffee show. But also we have a special guest from Saskatchewan, Dr. Nekky Jamal, and we also have Dr. Bernard Jin joining us from home. Okay, so everybody shout out who's right now in. Okay, so once again, if anybody wants to have the AGD CE credit, okay, you need to do a couple things. One is shout out. Put your first and last name, for example, Mark Kwan, and then comma, and the city that you're from, for example, Vancouver, and then your time zone, okay? And, where you're from, like Vancouver, and then your time zone. And then at the end of the hour, I'll give you a verification code for tonight, and then you just have to email Grace that you've attended with your verification code, and you'll receive 1 CE credit of AGD approved, okay? All right, awesome. Hope everybody had a great time. Okay, I had a fantastic time today. Okay, so today's topic obviously is going to be, all right, wow, here you go, everybody's coming in. Okay, who says I like this time better? Okay, Ted, we have Ahmed, happy Easter, and we have Bernard. Okay, wonderful. Right, I like this time zone too. It's just a lot of times I have a daddy duty that I need to do, and sometimes the 7 p.m. doesn't always work out. But I'll try to be more flexible in the time zone because 7 p.m. is almost eliminates a lot of our fan base from other time zone like Toronto. Like when we start here at 10 p.m. it's pretty much like a 1 a.m. in the morning, right? So we have quite a lot of followers in Toronto that has hard time joining, and also other parts of the global world as well. Okay, so thank you. So let's start the day. Okay, the night. Okay, here it is. Let me go picture in picture. Okay, first of all, can everybody hear my voice? Okay. Last time when I did the invitation series with Dr. Jeff Lee, I was so focused on controlling his voice tone and the volume, I totally forgot about increasing my voice volume. So today, just to make sure, I think I got my mic level pretty good. So if everything's good, give me thumbs up, and then we'll begin. Who else is here tonight? Dolly from Dalvinder Saran, Calgary. Thank you very much, Dolly, for joining. And we also have Kevin Chang from Cupertino, California. Thank you, Kevin, for joining us. Okay, fantastic. Okay, also Ted as well. All right, wonderful. All right, so we're going to start. So today's topic is PRF, right? And I've invited the two very special friends of mine, Bernard and Nekky, because obviously those of who's been following Bice Institute for a long time, Dr. Bernard is a doctor that has introduced, especially me, and Nekky, and a lot of clinicians in the rest of Canada introduced to PRF. He is not the inventor. He doesn't take credit for that. But certainly when it comes to educating general dentists more than 10 years ago, he has certainly played his major role in that. So, and we go back very, very back, and we have a lot of backstory that we're going to share with you tonight as well. And of course, Nekky, Dr. Nekky Jamal, the Jamalian. He's well known for third molar, but before he became famous for his third molar workshop, he was actually a really, really good PRF instructor. Once we've learned PRF from Dr. Bernard Jin and Dr. Nekky Jamal took over a big portion of education in PRF. So those of you who have registered, I think we're almost sold out for our upcoming PRF workshop. Who are joining our next PRF workshop, you're in for a great treat, okay? All right. Whoops, okay. I'm gonna mute right here. All right, okay. So, Easter, I had a great time today. Of course, we did some Easter egg hunt with my daughter, Alice. She's a real sweetheart. And then decided to go for a drive to a deep cove and got her her favorite ice cream shop, and also her donut shop. So it was a fantastic day. Okay. Now, PRF. Okay, where should we start? Okay. Can I get a show of your hand, those who are already practicing PRF? Ashima from Washington. Okay, thank you for joining us. Okay, just show off your hand, those who are already doing PRF in your own practice. Okay, definitely. Me and Dr. Jin and Dr. Jamal, we live and die on PRF, right? But has not always been the case. So those of you who are actually doing PRF, just show off your hand. I don't want to know, right? There you go, right? Okay. Yeah, Ahmed, of course, right? We've all learned from Dr. Bernard Jin, right? Fantastic. Okay, so those of you who are not familiar with the PRF, I think tonight's coffee show is going to be maybe a bit of an eye-opener. Sometimes, we get flacked as a Bias Institute that we're too much pro PRF. And that's true. I will not deny it, but there's a good reason for that, right? And we'll tell you the past and the present and what the future will be regarding the PRF during this episode, okay? Okay, all right. So I use the word game changer, right? Okay, I've been, practicing implant dentistry for almost 25 years. As many of you know, as soon as I graduated in 1997, I placed my first implant right off the bat, right? And over the last 2 decades or more, I've witnessed a drastic change in how we do implants and the type of implants that we utilize nowadays, and the advancement in technology, especially in the field of digital, right? And of course, all this full arch and everything. So if I were to pick a few things that I consider game changer, right? Truly a game changer. One would be incorporation of a CBCT. Me and Dr. Jin, we go back way back where we placed our implant without the convenience of CBCT. It's hard to believe, but that was the case. We used to take a panoramic X-ray, and then we use a ball bearing and calculate mathematically the distortion ratio, and that's how we used to place the implant, right? And then CBCT, once it got incorporated, I bought one of the very first CBCT machine in Canada, paid $300,000 for it, and I've used it. Now I am on my 3rd or 4th CBCT machine, but that has really changed the game for many of us. So CBCT is truly a game changer. And second, I would say like a guided surgery, and of course, full arch therapy, right? And full arch therapy, all-on-4 used to be the game changer. Now, in my opinion, FP1 is the game changer. However, third that will always be part of my top 3 list of game changer in implant dentistry is none other than PRF, platelet-rich fibrin. The moment that Bernard asked me to take my jacket off and take my shirt off and roll out my sleeves, and he poked me in the arm, ever since that happened, it was no turning back. It's like a blue pill and the red pill, the Matrix. Okay, I took the red pill, went down the rabbit hole, and never turned back. Right, so it's truly a PRF has been a game changer for us. Okay, Ted goes only when I can get blood. Okay, I know what you mean. Okay, takes practice. Okay, for me personally, how I incorporate PRF has evolved, right? I used to use a PRF sometimes. I used to only, when I first learned how to do PRF, I would only do PRF on those that I can find proper vein, right? Okay. But as you do more, you get easy. Because truthfully, Dr. Jamal will always say, why are we so worried about poking a vein when we do a inferior alveolar block every day blindly, that over an inch long needle, stick it at the back of somebody's throat? So when we look at that in perspective, really a venipuncture is not that difficult, and Dr. Jamal does a great job teaching how you guys to do a venipuncture in his workshop, so you'll learn plentiful, right? For me though, one of the biggest initial application was socket grafting, and then evolved more with my immediate implant placement. Okay, like for example in this picture right here, if I can take a tooth out, if I can stick an implant goes in, I rebuild bone. And we used to think that a buccal bone is the hardest to rebuild. Once I got to know how to do a sticky bone, buccal bone is the easiest to rebuild. Okay, easiest to rebuild. So we do these cases, immediate anteriors, immediate molars, full arch therapy. It really helped to combine treatment in one shot. I'm not saying that that's always the case, but significantly it really changed it. It made a surgery more efficient for me, more productive, and from a patient perspective, it was a better product in that regard, because no patient wants to pay more money and do more surgery. Okay, they rather do the opposite. I'll pay you more, Dr. Kwan, if you can limit the surgery to one, right? So that's my case, right? So like these are my typical case where I would take a tooth out, immediate molar, buccal wall blown out, doesn't matter, okay? I take it out. Instead of doing socket grafting and staging everything, if the soft tissue prototype is really good, I would place an implant and sticky bone and rebuild that very, very, very predictably without using any membrane. Only membrane that I use right here, I'll repeat, is PRF membrane. After the PRF, I start to understand more about biology. Okay, because what PRF done for me is triggered my thought process from a commercially driven clinical procedure to biologically driven clinical procedure. Because what PRF has started to witness is that without having to use a lot of commercial product, PRF alone gave me even better result. And I couldn't initially explain that. So me and Dr. Jin, we start talking, why is that the case? I thought we need a membrane. I thought we needed to use a mesh. I thought we needed titanium reinforced. How come we don't need to use that? So because we do so many cases, we're able to collect those data and try to make some sense out of it, right? Call it a in-clinic data collection and in-clinic analysis and research. So that's what we did, and we started to realize that it's all because of the biology, because it speeds up the healing, unlike other way that we thought possible, right? But the real turning point for me was this, right? I don't know if you saw this here, is that this was actually my mother-in-law, right? I posted on the Begin a couple times. This is about 4 years ago. I came home from work. I think it was a Saturday, right? And my mother-in-law was cooking deep fried tempura for my boys, because my boys love to eat, and one of their favorite food is tempura and French fries. And he spilled the oil on her hand accidentally, right? And one of the worst damage that you can do to soft tissue, like your epidermis, is burn. Okay, 3rd-degree burn, like a hot oil. Because what it does is, unlike a paper cut or unlike a scissor cut or knife cut, which when you approximate it, you have a better chance to heal by primary intention. But when you do a burn trauma is by definition a 3rd-degree, a secondary intention healing, right? So because the skin gets burnt out and everything has to heal from underneath it. It's one of the most excruciating pain. And that's what a lot of these trauma surgeons have a hardest time, is burn victims, right? And I remember Bernard's lecture when he's a really long time ago. Bernard, one of his slides he was showing is that how powerful a PRF can be in healing these burn victims. And one of the things that Bernard told me is like, but you gotta act fast, right? You gotta act fast. Don't let your body start to click in and go into a mode of a secondary intention. So he started applying right away. So what I did was I brought my son, right? And then we went back to the clinic and we drew some PRF, 6 flattened slug. We flattened it up with a PRF kit, and then we start to lay down. And then, I wrapped her up, right? I wrapped her up, and I repeated every 2 days, And exactly 1 week later, right? Okay, there's no scar. This blew my mind away, okay? Even today, when I look at her hand, there's a 0 scar whatsoever. Here you see a little bit of reddish because it's not 100% healed. This skin, basically new skin here, like forming. It was crazy, right? So this, forced me to start to really appreciate the power of a healing, because I always tell my residents we're only 50% at our best, right? Other 50% is understanding biology. Okay, so no further ado, I want to introduce a couple of these wonderful friend and a wonderful clinician, Dr. Bernard Jin and Dr. Nekky Jamal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the next scene right here, and I want to welcome them. All right, let me see. Are we in that new scene? No, are we in right here? There it is. Okay. So Dr. Jamal, can you hear me all right? Dr. Bernard Jin,
yeah, I just made it. My shirt was off. I'm good.
Gotcha. He just put on his shirt. He was bug naked. We missed it. All right. Okay. So
I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
I don't want to know. All right. Awesome, guys. Awesome. That's great. Hold on a second. Right here. Okay. So let's welcome everyone. A lot of you guys already know Dr. Bernard Jin from his courses, and he's a regular poster on Bicycle Global Implant Network, and of course Dr. Nekky Jamal. He's the Jamalian. He's the Canada's wisdom guy. Okay, so thank you very much for joining us. Okay, so I was telling them, Bernard. Okay, I think people know how much we're into PRF and all that. But I just want you to share some of the story, the backstory, right? Because I think it's been how many years? I think almost 13 years ago that I think you introduced me to the world of a PRF. Because I remember it was right after that you helped me with a cadaver course I was running at UBC, correct? Right? I needed a extra hand because we had like a 35 general dentist, combination of general dentist and specialist.
With some specialists there.
Yeah, there to learn how to do bone grafting from us. And you also came to help to do a cadaver course at the morgue, right? That's when I got to know you. And then I remember I was trying to pay you, cut you a check, and then you declined, right? Remember that, right? I said, it was your honor. You didn't want to get paid. I insist to pay you, but you didn't want to get paid. So I said, okay, then I'm going to take you out for lunch, right? And then that's how we established our first date. Is that correct? And where did we go? Where did we go for lunch?
I think it was either a Japanese or a Thai restaurant across the street from your current office.
Was it?
It was at It was at the Station Square.
Okay.
And it was next to the Starbucks.
Okay,
in
gotcha.
Burnaby.
Oh, I think it was a Daimatsu. They closed down.
Yeah.
They closed down. Daimatsu Japanese. And then we start talking about teaching and learning implant dentistry. Of course, dentists, when we get together, we talk about dentistry, right? We don't talk about anything else, right?
Of course.
And then you start talk about, do you do PRF? I remember you saying, do you do PRF? And I said, no, I don't, because I used to do a PRP. And I wasn't a big fan of it. I said, I have a centrifuge sitting in my garage, and I have to do pipette and all this, and double spin, triple spin. And then you told me that you had a technique where you didn't have to do it, right? And so take us through that, because that was, one of the most important day of my life as a clinician. That was a total turning point, right? Take us through it, Bernard. I want to hear your version of the story.
Well, we all have those days. For those of us, those of you who know me back then, I mean, I've been doing surgery and implantology for a while, and just like those of us that were taught back then, we were taught old school protocols, which basically means big ass grafts, huge flaps, expose everything to the ends of the world, harvest J blocks from the ramus, and then you're just screwing it onto surgical sites and stuff like that. And what happened though was I had a case, and this person was actually a border officer, a customs officer. It was a lady. She came to me, and it all started with just me saying, "Okay, she's missing the central. Everything's collapsed." And I was like, "Okay, I know what to do. I'm just going to do a block graft, no problem." Well, I did a block graft, but then after I did the block graft, about day 2, day 3, day 4, the whole area started dehiscing. Like you could actually start seeing the epithelium necrosing and turning white. And I was freaking out because, for those of us, like, I've done block grafts before, but this was the first time it started going, like, it was a big one and it was starting to go south. So what I did was I looked up one of the speakers. I was at one of the conferences that I had attended maybe a year or two before then, and his name was Joseph Chacroun. And here I am. I'm desperately learning, trying to figure out, I need to do something. This thing's going south, and this person's never going to let me in the country if I ever leave. So what I actually did was I looked up Joseph's name, and true enough, he's in France. His practice is in France. He's a physician. And I found out that he was coming to New York. And it was going to be like, I can't remember, it was like 7 or 8 days from the day I was looking it up. Immediately, I bought a ticket to New York from Vancouver. I canceled all my patients for that day. And I literally flew into New York to speak to this guy. So I flew in. I took an all-nighter because those of you who have traveled to New York from Vancouver, it's a red-eye flight. So literally, you climb in the airplane at about around 11:30 midnight, and you don't arrive at JFK until probably around 7. 8.
So you basically
and literally
go right to the lecture place, right? I've done that a few times
like,
too.
I didn't even book a hotel. Like I literally did not book a hotel. I literally just hopped on this plane, sat there, arrived at JFK, hopped in a cab, said, drive me to this hotel, literally went straight to this hotel. Like I didn't change, didn't shower, just walked straight in. And this was the intimidating part, guys. In the room were some really, really big names. Like we're talking big names that do a lot of, they have a lot of papers behind their names.
Yeah.
And there were only, in the room was probably about 12 of us. And out of the 12, every single one of them was a specialist, except for one Quebecois guy and myself. And I can tell you, I could feel those daggers as they go into the back of my head as I was sitting in that room, but I didn't care.
Yeah.
I talked to Joseph before. I said, look, I'm coming. And he goes, yeah, meet me in New York. So I said, okay, great. So I met him in New York. I literally sat through the course, his workshop, because he was doing a full-on day workshop just directed at specialists, because he was just getting started on PRF. This was his debut, and I happened to be there. And so as soon as the whole thing finished, it ended around 4:30, started at around 8, ended at 4:30. I went up to Joseph and I said, look, I'm not leaving New York unless you sell me this PRF machine right here. He was like, I don't have a PRF machine to sell you. I said, the one you use for demo, I want that one.
I'll take that one.
Yeah. So I literally, he agreed. Okay. So I bought it, I grabbed it, and I was on the airplane flying back, and I'm scratching in my head going, how am I going to get this through customs? Right?
Call it a rice cooker. Call it a rice cooker.
Oh yeah. And the cases that he showed, like, I was in awe. It blew my mind what PRF could do. Like it blew my mind. Yeah. And so the whole time I was sitting in the airplane, I was like daydreaming, thinking about what PRF could do. Because basically, if you understand the biology and the principles, you can do what Marcus talked about, what he did for his mother-in-law. The whole principle behind it. Like we've had on their vasectomy wounds. We've had doctors who use their PRF on their wives' C-sections. I've used it on to augment lips, to develop basically to help stimulate collagen on lips. I've done it on staff members for their scalp. Mark, you were there with me when we administered PRF into our, your staff member's scalp to help grow hair.
But
And so,
to be honest though, you're thinking in your head is, can I fix that blown out block graph with this machine, right? You know,
yes,
you're
that
thinking
was the
that though.
So I smuggled it. I smuggled in the PRF centrifuge before it was even legal in Canada.
Yeah.
And I smuggled it in. And I remember the customs officer said, "Hey, so what is that?" And I said, "Oh, rice cooker." And he let me pass. And I was like, "Great." Okay, so this is the cool part. I had the patient literally come in the next day, and I spun the PRF, and I put it over the wound. Except that now I had to think outside the box. How am I going to get this PRF to stay over the wound? Thank God, where I put the block graft, and where the dehiscence was happening, I had given the patient a temporary 3-unit bridge. So I just popped it off, put the PRF, and re-cemented that 3-unit bridge. And I kept changing that over and over and over again. I would do it every other day.
Just get the soft tissue healed up.
Yeah, here's the coolest part. That white necrosed tissue started turning pink and red, and it started closing up again. And I didn't actually see the bone, right? And it was the most amazing thing. And then after that, it was just, we started understanding the science behind it and just using it and running with it. And that's when I ran into that, because we had done this was between the cadaver course and me meeting up with you for our lunch date. I said, like, Mark, I got to show you this. Like, I couldn't get it off my mind. Like, I was actually, it's almost like, when you're in love and you think about that person all day, all night. Yeah. That was PRF for me. I couldn't stop thinking
this
about
is a thing, right? One thing that we can relate to, like, Bernard, your story is, I think many of the audience can relate as well, is that typically we don't go to the course. The motivating factor is not, that is cool, I want to learn how to do it. Typically, a lot of doctors who are taking our implant courses because, my father needs an implant, my mother needs an implant, or my uncle needs an implant. So they take it so that they can treat them first, right? I mean, that's number one. And people who go and take a Botox course, my girlfriend needs it, my wife needs it. So there's a need for it. And the strongest need, like in my career, has been solving problem. Like, for example, like I did a 3-unit bridge, and then, if I need to, I don't want to do 3-unit bridge because of the problem that I can cause. So I want to learn how to do implant. And Amazon, the CEO said that people buy not because of they want to prevent something. They buy in order to purchase, in order to get out of the problem, right? Like in your case, block graft, if it didn't blow out, or if it was about to not to fail, probably wasn't as convincing yourself to go and actually get it done. But you cleared up all your patient, rebook it to go, because you were hoping that this amazing science can help to rectify that situation, and which it did. Yes. So sometimes, like one thing leads to another, doesn't it? Sometimes good things happen without you even notice. And for me, I started PRP way back earlier on, PRP spin, right? And I abandoned it because I was sick and tired of multiple spin and pipetting. And then when you show me after that lunch, you took me to your clinic, and then you showed me how to spin it. I said, single spin? Yeah. Wow. Okay, no additives? Wow. Right? Okay. And it doesn't take any more time to do this, right? So to me, that was real game changer. Of course, it's one of those things, it gets better and better and better as you start to understand more about it.
I love the way how Nekky basically took our information and started streamlining it. Like he started making it a lot more practical, and he basically systemized it. Yeah. I love the fact that Nekky is teaching this, because he basically gives you the ABCs of it, which basically simplifies it. I can't imagine any other way of doing it. And in fact, I started utilizing a lot of Nekky's tricks and tips, and even doing phlebotomy. Like, it's awesome. I love it. So thank you, Nekky.
I want to know, how did Nekky get into this picture? Somewhere along the way, somehow Nekky got into the picture, and then he ran with it. When did we meet you, Nekky? It's kind of been a while.
I met you guys in Calgary, and I'm going bald, and
Oh my
I
God.
needed I need Bernard. I'm just kidding.
In April.
What? Yeah, in April. Someone's got to poke me up there. I'm getting old. No, I met you guys in Calgary. I think it was your first PRF course outside of Vancouver, if I believe. Am I right?
Yeah, yeah. I think we were running.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was Calgary.
Yeah. And I was having a lot of problems with sinus lifts and, how do you pack the bone in there after you perfed? And clearly I wasn't doing sinus right. And I was just a mess. And learning PRF completely changed my entire approach to dentistry, whether it's exodontia or it's implantology. It took me to that next level to really open up all the doors for me. And so that was the single-handed best course to start an entire career. And I've ran with that, and I turned it into a full sedation practice, focusing on surgeries all day based on PRF. And honestly, the person I have to thank is Bernard, because not you, Mark. Bernard.
No, it's
all,
Bernard.
All 100% Bernard.
All right, gotcha. I got your point, man. Okay. All right. No, it's so true though.
No. You guys introduced me. Yeah.
It's funny thing, like when Bernard introduced me to the world of PRF, and this was before sticky bone. We didn't really actually fine tune the sticky bone till another year and a half or 2 years later, right? But it was just a pure PRF, and then like you guys, if you guys know me and Bernard and Nekky, we don't teach our doctors unless we've done enough clinical work in our own clinic, and because we do a ton of implant, and Bernard does a ton of soft tissue as well, and we wanted to see what kind of applications, because we knew PRF work. The question was, how can we make a course teaching doctors how to apply it clinically, right? Clinical, because Joseph was good, but at that time, he's not a dentist, he's not an implant dentist, and for our focus was how can we use what he found, what he developed, clinically applicable in dentistry, and more particular implant dentistry. And once we got enough cases, enough of a predictability, we were able to make it into a full day course. And I told Bernard, we gotta share that with the rest of dentists, the rest of the GPs or specialists, in this country. And the nearest city was Calgary. And then that's when Nekky came and see. And I tell you, when Nekky first came, I didn't like him because he was giving me two elbows like this, right? So skeptical. He was shooting lasers from his elbows, man, like this here, right? Okay. And then, but of course, when you had a good course, when the course is over and doctors don't want to go home, right? Those are the good courses. And you ran a bad course, after about lunchtime, and they come to you and say, you know what, I'll be leaving a little early. My daughter has a birthday. I got to go early. Sorry, Mark. Those you're having a bad day, okay? But when you have guys like Nekky and prominent doctors that stay behind asking question after question, we know that they took something special that day, right? So,
it was an amazing course. Like I take a lot of CE, and that still stands out as one of the best, and
to be honest,
it's a game changer in all of dentistry.
Yeah, and to be honest, that's what put us on the map as well in this country, running a PRF workshop.
Yeah.
It was the very first workshop, hands-on venipuncture combined clinical application workshop that I know to this day, the very first one in this country. We were teaching a lot of very first time immediate anterior and other things too, but PRF for sure it ranks right up there. Okay, so right now it's a little over 7:35, and I promised some of our audiences that we're going to share some of the clinical cases. Okay. Because for some of these people, audiences, PRF is something new. They heard about it. But there's still, I don't know why, there's still some controversy that's out there. I don't know what we need to do to really prove that PRF is the great thing. But let's go over some clinical cases, shall we? Okay, sounds good?
Sure, yeah.
All right, let's just see if I can go into this right here. All right, okay, I almost know what I'm doing. All right. Okay, so
I hope you guys can see the video. I realize it's a little choppy. There's a lot of bandwidth that it's eating up. So Hopefully you guys can see what we're talking about.
Yeah, and then feel free to ask questions too, guys. Feel free to
Yeah,
ask questions.
yeah.
Okay.
So what you see there is not a piece of sushi. it's actually a PRF, and I absolutely love it. In fact, when I first learned about PRF, I was daydreaming about it. My wife actually started getting suspicious. She thought I was having an affair or something. And in a way, she's right. I was having an affair, but it wasn't with a human being. I was having a mental affair with PRF.
and this was a different, right? When we do a PRP, where we just only collect Buffy coat, you don't get this yellowish white. Why do we get this sluggish-looking typical look of a PRF, Dr. Jin?
Okay, well, so what you're seeing there is a platelet fibrin matrix. So basically, that's a blood clot, but without the red blood cells. So you know how when you fall down and you bleed, you normally have a blood clot. But if you take away the blood clot, if you took away the red blood cells part, that is actually that's what's left. You have a matrix that is kind of opaque. That just sounds wrong. I assume you're talking about love affair with a PRF, Dr. Ham, not about my wife. Okay. So we're just going to keep running along. So I think it's amazing. Those of you who don't know this, man, you are missing the boat. Those of you who are utilizing PRF, but you want to up your game, you want to start talking about being more predictable, man, you gotta take Nekky's workshop. It will rock your world, I guarantee it. He really, actually, like I said, simplifies it for you.
So this is the white blood cell, right? That's what makes this distinctive part of giving that volume and the color. Is that right?
Yeah. So basically, when later on, when you take the workshop, you'll understand that in the PRF, there are different zones, and each zone represents what's inside of it. So whether it's platelets, whether it's neutrophils, whether it's just a fibrin matrix, then that's where you utilize that PRF based on what you need it for. So if you need it for let's say if you need to just pump up volume, you can use the whole thing. But if you want to concentrate and just put a lot of platelets, a lot of neutrophils in there, then you're using one half of the PRF. Usually it's the half that's close to the interface, right? So it depends. So we teach our doctors how to think. And the whole point behind this is it's not like commercial product, which is what you and I fell into the trap of, Mark. I don't know if Nekky fell into the trap, but we fell into the trap of, oh, you got to use our product to grow bone. Oh, you got to use our membrane to grow bone. Oh, you got to use it. And then the thing is that they're trying to sell you stuff. Whereas when we learned PRF, we basically dumbed it down and figured out, oh yeah, you just got to understand the biology. Yeah. And if you understand the biology, you could solve it.
Absolutely. Implant dentistry all of a sudden got very, very simple, right, Nekky? Yeah.
Absolutely. I found that the coolest part is now we're able to incorporate leukocytes into our surgical sites. And that's a huge difference from PRP. Although we still have platelets, now we have leukocytes as well. And that's incredible. And that's why we see, a lot of benefits, especially for me with third molars, right?
Yeah. You have a huge dermal practice. And then, I don't know about, a lot of doctors, but I used to get a lot of dry sockets. And I haven't seen a dry socket for like years,
That's right.
That's gotta have some contribution to that, right? Okay. So let's talk about this.
There's no doubt.
Yeah, simplest application here. You chose a case because I asked you guys to choose a simple case, a socket grafting, right? Let's tell us through this case right here.
All right. So this is where I started utilizing. Okay. So in the past, those of us, we would buy product like paste, and we would just try and put in, like something like Dynagraft, or you would have to buy some commercial product. But what we realized was in this case, the patient shows up with basically a really infected second molar. Canadian numbers would be tooth number 27. US number would be 17. And basically, you look at that, you go like, what can I do? And if you actually look closely, you'll notice that there's a perforation between the actual sinus, the antrum of the sinus, and the floor of the socket. So I actually extracted it. But here's the cool part. Because I have PRF, and I'm able to make sticky bone. In the past, if you're going to shove particulate in there, You can't. Those of us who in the old school, when we're trying to put in particulate, that particulate's going to go into that sinus. You can't manipulate it. But because of the advent of PRF, we're able to mold and shape that particulate, and we're actually able to reduce the number of surgeries. So in the past, you and I would extract the tooth, let it heal, then go back in, let it heal sufficiently, then go maybe a few months, let that thin bone form, then go back in, open it up, put particulate in it, and then close it up. Now we're able to take those two surgeries and turn it into one, right? So if we go to the next slide, you'll see on the on the sectional slice, there is a perforation on the top left. You can see the perforation between,
right here.
And here's the antrum is just, it's breached, it's completely breached. So, but here's the beautiful thing about it. If you understand the biology, we're gonna go to the next slide. You extract the tooth, you clean it out, and look at, on the top right, look at how much bone we were able to produce simply from sticky bone alone. And that's just sticky bone. I think that was close to 10 millimeters, which means we went from a perforation, all right, all the way to a site where you could literally just drop an implant in. And all because of the beauty of sticky bone and PRF.
Absolutely phenomenal.
And I don't know if you guys can appreciate it, but from here, before, the sinus was all opaque, plugged up because of the dentinogenic sinusitis. Now it's all cleared up. That's beautiful, right?
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Hey, Bernard, what happens if, like, we do pack loose granules in there and sinus? What happens then?
A good question. So the granules, even if they're human allografts, the thing is that the body still views it as a foreign body. So when you have something in the sinus and it is not protected, the body then goes into a foreign body reaction. So there's suddenly going to be inflammation. The body's going to try and contain it. It's going to try and remove it. But because of PRF, you're able to actually, if you're that concerned, you put a small piece of PRF through that patency and then put sticky bone on top of it. It's cool. So, it's a beautiful thing. And the body's not going to reject it because it's completely autologous. PRF is accepted, right? So that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of PRF. Like, so going back to what Dr. Kwan said, you can actually stage it out the old school way, but you're doing your patient such a big benefit when you're actually able to reduce the number of surgeries and then solve it and grow a bone. So right now you can tell the patient, hey, next time I see you, an implant's going in. You can say that predictably. The last time it was like, oh, this is going to drag out for like 9 months to a year, right? So it's crazy. This is crazy.
There's a question here. He says from one of the participant here tonight, asking question is, have you guys seen common problem with the older silicate coated tubes versus glass tubes, or no differences? I personally don't see any differences. I just use a cheap BD medical grade a red tube and a white tube. I've been using that for over 10 years and any problem. But do you have any experience on those?
I have used glass tubes as well as the BD tubes you're talking about. It depends on who's making it. I've had some people purchase tubes from different sources, and some of them have been actually reporting onset of infection, more so than before. And it depends on which product you buy. If you're talking about the actual glass itself, whether it's a glass tube or silicate coated tube, that makes no difference. In principle, it makes no difference. But I believe it also has to do with the way the tubes are processed. If you're buying a tube that is, let's say, made in China, and their sterilization protocol for those tubes are really questionable, I would have a problem doing that. And I know some of our doctors have purchased some tubes from other sources, and I would just caution against just going full in if you don't know where the source is. Like, so the stuff that, for example, the products that we buy from Canadian medical distributors, like actual medical distributors. that hospitals and medical laboratories in
We buy in
Canada.
cartons,
So-
right? We buy in cartons, like from a medical supplier.
Yeah, we buy
right?
we buy in crates. We actually
Yeah.
buy in
Yeah.
crates.
That's what I do.
So
yeah.
I would, so to answer your question, I can't remember. I think it was Richard who asked.
It was a Shirkat. Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I think I think in principle, whether it's glass or plastic with silica coated, I don't think it makes a difference. But I do think what does make a difference is the source being processed properly. Because like, as we said, those of you who are online, you go online and there are suddenly people going like, oh my goodness, I bought this tube and I'm getting infections left, right, and center. And a lot of it is because, you have to know where your source is. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
So good question.
And here, this is you're showing open membrane
Oh, yeah, yeah.
technique using a
So
cytoplast,
this was the
right?
open membrane technique. Yeah, exactly. So I'm, you mix it up. If you understand the biology, you can do whatever you want. So this is me. I'm packing the bone and I'm holding it with a DPTFE membrane and suturing it up with proline and just holding it. And look, you can just grow crazy amount of bone. And it's predictable. Like you can actually tell the patient, this is predictable. In 6 months or 4 months, I'm going to see you. You're getting an implant. No ifs, ands, or buts. You're getting it, and the patient's going to love you for it. And so that's something I would promote. It's even for something as basic as socket grafting. It makes it predictable. Why would you not, right? Why would you not make something predictable if you don't have to? And it doesn't cost you a lot of money.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, like you call this socket grafting, but you also gain some of the vertical component as well, right? Because socket grafting, a lot of people say, oh, socket grafting is so basic. I disagree. I think one of the hardest thing to learn is learning the fundamentals of proper socket grafting. Because when I talk to 10 dentists who's been doing implant and socket grafting for 10 years, I can tell 8 of them are not doing it properly. Their use of a membrane is wrong. They don't understand the biology. They don't have a proper flap design and the closure. So fundamental does not mean easy. Fundamental to learn and understand fundamentals is extremely, extremely important because that will carry you through the advanced procedures, right?
Yeah, for sure. Let's move on to the next slide.
Absolutely. And a lot of it comes to suturing too.
Absolutely, right? Because I think, Nekky, you'll be teaching the PRF, the module first day, hands-on, and the next day you'll be teaching with Dr. Ham, atraumatic extraction, which is very important again, atraumatic extraction, and Dr. Ham will be covering the details in a socket grafting technique, correct? Right?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. But we're going to talk about that next week, though, right?
Sure, absolutely. All right. So this is sinus grafting is another area that we use PRF like extensively, right? And take us through this one here, Dr. Jin. It looks like this is Dr. Cho, Lisa, one of our resident life surgery study club.
Yeah. So this is Dr. Cho, and we utilize PRF in just about everything, and we encourage our doctors to use it in everything. And just to show you guys, for those of you who take our residency program, you're going to know PRF off the bat because I look at PRF kind of like local anesthetic. You can't do surgery without PRF. No different than you can't do restorative without local anesthetic. So I look at PRF like local anesthetic. You just got to know it. And this is just to show you how common it is. Like this is Dr. Cho. She's one of our comprehensive implant residency doctors, and we're just like, we throw them into the deep end and they're able to swim. And I tell you, this is the cat's meow. I can't stress that enough. You got to know this.
I think that's what happened when me and Dr. Jin used to teach the residency program. Used to be a 4-day program. Very simple, how the anatomy, simple implant, osteotomy, placing implant on a live patient. But then what we've done is we've started to incorporate a lot of what we believe is a very important fundamental. That is a PRF. We also decided to include atraumatic extraction from Dr. Jamal, and also a socket grafting from Dr. Sang-Woo Ham, guided surgery, CBCT analysis. So, even though we call it a comprehensive implant residency, is classifies our basic program, but it's very, very comprehensive, and PRF is absolutely one of the key component of the entire program. Right?
Oh, absolutely. So in this particular case, to talk a little bit about PRF, I mean, if you understand the biology and the fundamentals, those of you who have been in the implant world long enough, you understand the concept of tenting. So in this particular case, this is not Dr. Cho. This is another one of our residency doctors, life surgery doctors. And I believe, go ahead and advance to the next slide. I believe what they did was they basically opened it up, and this is a sinus lift. This is a crestal approach sinus lift. And we go to the next slide, you'll actually see that, after they do the crestal approach, as they do the crestal approach, they're basically reaching into the sinus with doing a crestal lift, okay? And then after they've breached the sinus doing a crestal lift, they use the hydraulics to lift the membrane, okay? And then the rest is so basic. You can literally throw in the patient's own autogenous PRF, like literally, that's the patient's own blood. You're just taking it, and you're taking their blood, the flattened PRF, okay, and then you're just literally moving it into the site,
without adding any bone. We used to incorporate it as a sticky bone, but nowadays with a few millimeters, just a few mil lift, we just put PRF only, right? And we just tent it with the fixture, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you're using PRF only, and the thing is that it is amazing. The quality of bone you're gonna get is ridiculous. I mean, it's not to say you can't particulate. You can if you want to, but if you don't have to, why would you? Because that particulate still has to undergo breakdown. Right? It has to be broken down.
This is a thing, right? Yeah. I get frustrated is when doctor asks, what kind of bone should I use? What kind of membrane should I use? And I get frustrated enough that totally up to you, Yeah. And because what it comes down to is people think that that $200 vial of bone that they buy is actually turned into bone. My friends, they don't turn into bone, okay? I hate to break it to you. Nothing turns into bone. Only thing that turns to bone is your blood. That's it. Any bone material that you buy, it just holds the space. That's it. And it needs to resorb and occupy by the blood clot. So what is a PRF? Blood clot. Okay, very well controlled, good quality blood clot. Okay, so in fact, that's why it turns into bone quicker. Only problem with the PRF is that it can shrink. It can shrink because it does not hold volume on its own. But in this particular case, you're tenting it with an implant, so that will hold the space, and PRF underneath it will facilitate turnover into a blood into the eventual bone graft.
So let's advance the slide, Mark. Yeah. Just because I want to show. So then after that, you put in your implant. And after you put in your implant, again, you can just put your PRF on top of it, right? I mean, and then you suture it up, and that's the beauty of it. You can use PRF in every step of the way, and that's what I'm trying to push. I want to give Nekky an opportunity to speak, Mark, because I know he's got some cool cases. So let's move on to Nekky, and he can talk about that.
Go into this case here though, like.
I'll be honest with you, Bernard.
It's now even easier with Densa.
Nekky only has 4 slides. Okay, he doesn't have that many. Okay. I had to break it to you. So we gotta drag this thing on for another few minutes, man.
Okay. So for those of you who are wondering,
okay.
Let me tell a few jokes.
This one is a veneer grafting, right? Combination of a veneer grafting.
Yeah. And what's in that veneer graft?
Okay, here's a sticky bone, right?
Sticky bone.
Yeah. Another amazing thing. Is a sticky bone. And I think what people understand is that there's a lot of a debate on, it has how much more growth factor when you do this spin. This has more growth factor if you do a 4-minute versus 10-minute or all this. You know what? To me, I don't think that's really that important. To me, is important is a few things. Okay. From a biological perspective, okay? In order to regenerate bone, guys, okay, more important than how much growth factor it has, most important is can it hold a space, number one, and can it receive proper blood supply? Those two. That's it. Those two are far more important than how much of a growth factor that somebody researcher showed that somebody didn't show that, okay? So what it means is, the space that you create, whether it's immediate anterior, immediate molar, or whatever the space is, when you put the sticky bone, it cannot move. It cannot move. And just like here, that's why I rather teach our doctors how to make a proper consistent physical characteristic of a sticky bone, right? I want to focus on that and focus on doctors how to do a proper venipuncture. Nekky teaches a great venipuncture technique. Learn how to do that. Because if you can do those two, you can make a wonderful sticky bone omelet. Okay, that's going to work pretty much for almost every single cases. Okay, so this is a sticky bone buccal
I
veneer
love
grafting.
doing this.
Yeah. Take us to it, Nekky. I mean, you do this all the time too, right? Yeah.
This buccal veneer grafting is to me huge game changer. Huge. Think of the service you're offering your patients, ensuring buccal bone.
Yep.
And often when you like take out a tooth and you're not careful and you bust off that buccal plate, imagine being able to replace it right there with your immediate implant.
Absolutely.
It's a huge game changer.
And I was telling these doctors, they were bringing cases how to teach them how to do GBR. I mean, we can teach a great GBR course. I mean, how to do bone tacking and everything and all that mesh stuff and all that, we do it. But honestly, to be honest with you, when you look at me and Nekky and Bernard's cases, clinical cases, the case that you guys think will need a open flap and total bone tacking and GBR and then go back in their 6-month place implant, 80%, I'm not kidding, 80% we can do it in a single place an implant. Yeah. And get bone doing a veneer grafting without having to bone tack, without having to use a lot of times membranes. Okay, just think about that predictably. Okay, right? So the buccal veneer grafting, I think one of the study club session, I think Dr. Chris Lee, he does wonderful buccal veneer grafting. He's gonna do a live surgery and do a study club. So those of you who haven't signed up for it, please do so. This is our bread and butter. Okay. All right, and here just
absolutely.
Yeah.
I find even now I'm not even using the casket either. I'm using Densa. And PRF, and it takes the exact same amount of time as if you had 10 millimeters of bone to use Densa and pack PRF in there, and you have your own. It works.
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So the application is only limitation to application of PRF is imagination, really.
Absolutely.
All right, Nekky, this is your case. Okay, your wonderful 4-slide case. You better make it count.
First of all, you don't need more slides when you have quality.
There you go. I love it. I love it, man.
I run into this a lot of times, and I take out a lot of teeth in my practice, and I see a lot of patients. They get referred to me for immediate dentures or whatever from the denturist.
Yeah.
And you're seeing 70, 80-year-olds, large sinuses, minimal bone. And here's my case right here. So the ENT was noticing a lot of sinus issues. And he called me, and he's my friend of mine. And he said, you got to take out these teeth. And I'm like, man, I don't want to take out these teeth. He's 80 years old. I'm not touching that 4.8. I don't care who you think I am. And so, he said, Nekky's having a lot of problems. If you look, the crowns are off the teeth. They used to be, submerged, and the crowns are off the teeth.
Yeah.
And just knowing this case, you see large sinuses, thin cortical bone, minimal bone remaining.
Yeah.
And we all know what's going to happen. We take out these teeth, and we're going to have a huge hole in the sinus.
Yeah.
And initially, 10 years ago, what would we have done? We would have accepted the chronic oral-antral fistula that's coming. And that patient is going to have huge issues because closing these things long-term can be very difficult. And if it opens up, we're hooped. Then you're looking at, a larger soft tissue graft to cover. And,
rotational finger size rotational flap. That's what we used to do. And it is painful, man. Those take a long time to heal. It works, but it's painful, right?
Totally.
And how do you do it these days when you're anticipating oral-antral fistula?
I don't even hesitate. All my patients, I feel like they know me by now. And if they don't know me, their friends have told them, expect to get your blood taken when you go to the dentist. And to me, that's hilarious because they automatically have respect for you. They say, I never thought I'd be getting my blood taken at the dentist. And I tell them I'm going to use your own growth factors to heal for you. And to me, this is just like a classic case that really highlights everything put together. A huge oral antral fistula upon extraction, you know, a tricky extraction, bone removed with the tooth, and all we do is the same. Like it's the same principle. If I want to allow for healing, I want to deliver growth factors to the site. And go ahead, play this video, and I can show you exactly what I do.
Oh, you
So we
bring
see
the
a
whole
large
gel.
oral antral fistula.
Yeah.
The whole gel.
Yeah.
Yeah. And man, we don't just do one. Why not add more? You're able to add more and more gels to the site. You can even compress the gel and add it to the site. And so when I know that there's a large sinus opening, and you know, you take out that tooth and they immediately tell you, Nekky, why do I breathe differently? Like something's wrong. I can feel air coming through my nose.
For sure.
The second you put that PRF plug in there, what happens? They say, oh, that's better. How did you fix that? Then when you get your referring offices beside you saying, you know, I pulled out a tooth and now the patient can breathe in through their nose, and when they drink water, it comes out their nose. This is how you fix it. Why make life more difficult? PRF is all you need. And when Dr. Jin showed me this 10 years ago, it was like a light bulb. Why not have our patients heal for themselves? Like, and this is written up in oral surgery journals. PRF is now the gold standard in preventing that chronic oral antral fistula from happening in the first place.
Professor Sohn talked about it too. Like, I mean, he is so against using commercial bone. He keeps on messaging me. He goes, you know, Dr. Kwon, you gotta stop using commercial bone. I said, Dr. Sohn, I don't even use that much. You gotta totally eliminate it from using it in the sinus, right? Okay, well, I'm not that as brave as you yet, Professor Sohn. But like, he said the exact same thing. Like an oral surgeon, among the oral surgeons in Korea now, like they've almost come to a standard that, you know, if you can create a space without adding a graft material, like a tenting with a fixture, or just purely for the purpose of using oral antral fistula communication prevention or correction, PRF is becoming a gold standard, right? So there you go. You know, seems like the science has always been there. It's just that we're discovering more and more predictable application, and that application that we're using for PRF, whether it's a PRF as a gel or membrane or as a part of a sticky bone, it is basically simplifying a lot of things that we're trying to do to achieve our goal. Would you agree?
Yeah, completely agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's just been fantastic. I mean, of course, like when you do a third molar extraction, that's what you put in there, right? PRF, right? Pretty much all the time.
There's no question. Like we see a 95 in my hands, 99% reduction in alveolar osteitis or dry socket just from the addition of PRF. And it's so easy, especially for those of you doing sedation out there. It's one needle poke. You get your IV and your PRF at the same time. And
that's right.
Just learning venipuncture for me opened up my entire practice, because before I learned it, I was scared to do sedation. I didn't know if I'd be able to get my IV, and now I have a full sedation practice because of PRF. And so it's totally revolutionized my entire dental career in taking a one-day course, and I'm just proud to share it with my fellow colleagues.
Those of you who doesn't know Nekky Jamal, he's a humble clinician, but the guy has $1 million practice, okay? $10 million practice. It's a mammoth practice. You know, when you guys get a chance to go to his town, ask for a tour. It's amazing what he's built in there, right? That guy does wisdom tooth like, picking up hotcakes, right? And that's all he does, IV sedation and extraction. Right, just line them up and picking those out. Right, fantastic, right? And here, so I thought it was a little butterfly on the elevator. You tell me about this one.
No, this is the tooth. It was dilacerated roots, and you can see that right there on top of my PRF tubes. And I maybe got too artistic with this one.
That's
so,
right.
That is the tooth that I wrote. But I want everyone to know that the biggest problem I see for new people coming into this is venipuncture. And I want that to be the easy part for you. And And I've developed techniques over years and years and thousands of like PRF, venipuncture and phlebotomy. And I want to share my passion and my skills with you, because once you know what you're looking for and how to feel for veins and where to look for them, PRF's easy. It just allows your body to heal for you. And so it's a game changer, and I love it. And taking blood is fun, especially when you get patients and they say, nurses can't take my blood, and I consider it a challenge. And when I get it the first time, I tell them they owe me a coffee.
Yeah, and you know what? Out of everybody that I've seen taught me how to do venipuncture, I think your technique, I think, is one of the best.
Yes, it is. I can vouch for that. Yeah.
And I think, we had a pretty good technique. Bernard has a great technique, but sometimes Bernard makes it, he assumes that everybody knows how to do it. Whereas Nekky, you take it step by step, and you really dumb it down. So I think, that's what makes it your a PRF course very easy for beginner doctors, because they're really, the hardest part for them is the poking the arm and get that flash, right? And you teach them very, very well. Yeah, wonderful. So those of you who are not signed up, I think it's almost full now. There might be like a 1 or 2 seat available now. We basically it was sold out several months ago, and there was high demand, so we had to change the venue. And we're waiting, venue, and we're waiting for the venue to reply to us whether we can have, how many people we can have. So when we heard that they can hold up to 30 registrants, so we opened up 5 more seats, and I think that's only like a 1 left or something like that. So Nekky, just to, in a nutshell, what can they expect from your course at this module, April 23rd, Friday course here?
You're going to learn all my tips and tricks for venotomy, and you're going to learn and practice on each other. And that's the best part. I want you to be able to get that experience right away. I find that the lecture portion is small because it's all hands-on. I want you to learn venipuncture. I want you to learn PRF. But most importantly, in the afternoon, when we tackle sticky bone, I want to hear how you're going to apply it on Monday morning, because that's how easy it is. And once we show you our techniques, I think a light bulb will flash in your head just as it did in mine 10 years ago. And I'm excited to share that with you all.
And they get to practice on each other, both arms, correct?
Oh, they get to practice on each other and on me.
Fantastic.
So it'll be great.
Fantastic. Well, it's already 5, almost 10 minutes after 8 o'clock. I think we went over a little bit, but before you guys go, I want to thank both Dr. Bernard Jin, the godfather of PRF of Canada, and of course Nekky, the Jamalian, the one and only third molar man, as well as the PRF man. Thanks for joining us, making this late night coffee show special. Hope to see you guys back again, and stay healthy. And everybody, let's give a round of applause. If not, put a lot of heart, shoot some heart to them, okay? Like here, like what I'm doing. Right here you go, okay? Give some hugs and shoot some hearts, okay? So thank you very much, guys. Okay, take care, and I hope to see you guys again. All right, looking forward to having you, Nekky, and Dr. Jin at the next PRF course at Bice Institute.
Have a good night, guys.
Have a good night.
Happy Easter.
I'm not ready to go. I want to still talk. We got 3 more hours.
I don't. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Wonderful. Okay, fantastic. All right. Okay, so where we are. Okay, guys. So yeah, that was the session today. Okay, so for those of you sticked around, and I'm going to take attendance for those of you guys who shouted out up to this point. So you haven't shouted out, shout out if you want. I get 1 CE credit AGD point so that I can submit to Grace, and I'll give you a verification code. So the verification code is BITES, which is BITES, BITES, okay, LCS, okay, Late Night Coffee Show, and 016, okay, 016, which is episode 16. I think that's episode 16, isn't it? Today's episode? I get so mixed up because we've been doing so many of these. Let me just double check. Oh, actually, you know what? 017, guys, 017, okay? So BITES, LCS, 017. Okay, that's going to be verification code. So you need to shout out first. Okay, your first name, last name, comma, the city, comma, okay, and your time zone. Okay, so right now it's 8 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, or if you're Toronto, put your time, okay, when you're logging out. Okay, so I will submit the attendance, and then you can get your 1 CE AGD approved credit. Okay, all right. So if you have any questions, please leave remarks. Okay, a comment. Thanks for joining. Hope you guys learned something. Like I said, PRF, there's no controversy in my book. Okay, I wouldn't use it if it didn't work. I've been using it for thousands of patients, thousands. I wouldn't know what to do without PRF. Okay, it totally changed my game. Immediate molar, immediate anterior, full arch treatment, building bone laterally, vertically, all that. Okay, and it's a very, very important part of my toolbox. And in the future, we're going to talk about SANTA, S-A-N-T. This SANTA technique has revolutionized the way I do vertical ridge augmentation. One of the hardest things to do in implant dentistry, GBR, is growing bone vertically. And SANTA has made my vertical game really wonderful, and we're going to share that in upcoming study club in the future. But in order to do SANTA, you gotta master your PRF game, sticky bone game. Okay, so that's another reason for you to get into a PRF. All right, so thank you very much, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight, and a special thanks to Nekky, the Jamalian, and Dr. Bernard Jin, my good friend and the godfather of PRF of this country. So thank you very much. You guys have a wonderful evening and a great long weekend. Happy Easter weekend, and stay healthy, and God bless all of you. Bye-bye. Oops, where do I go? I need to go. Here you go.